It's funny because I haven't shared this often actually, or maybe in the detail. Obviously being in the corporate role, and I actually thought that was going to be my place, like break the glass ceiling, climb the ladder, all the rest of it. And then it got to the point where that kind of rank and roll thing just didn't matter to me. It wasn't actually what I cared about, it wasn't my values. And I remember that feeling of, well, I'm stuck in this role and I'm stuck in this paycheck. And there was a couple of options, and I started working out, well, how do I make my own role outside of this? Like, what would I even do? And I remember, I think I stepped into about 3 different jobs within 18 months because I was really lost. I was really like, I don't know what I will create. I never went to university. I didn't have a specific skill set that I thought was valuable. And I ended up in this position, which I never want women to be in, where I didn't know if I was hired for the value I brought or the company with them. When life's always showing you, it's like it was very much showing me, hey, restriction isn't your thing, 9 to 5 isn't your thing, being paycheck to paycheck isn't your thing. And then it showed me a bit of a harder lesson, and it was like, you've really got yourself stuck here. Because how do I walk away from this paycheck, but I feel so uncomfortable? And how did I get myself in that position? And it was then that it was just obvious. It was like, never again.
You wanted to become independent.
Yeah,
right
to become
then.
completely independent. Like, never again will I put myself in a position where I feel vulnerable and embarrassed and stuck simply because I needed a good paycheck when I could create my own. And I think it was that point that I was like, okay, I have to create it for myself. I have to be the woman that earns her own money. So I think from there as well, it was, I was really fortunate with even a lot of the time feeling like, who am I to do anything? What business would I start? Or, I don't have a specific skill set. I'm not an architect, I'm not a lawyer. I didn't go to university to develop something. And I think often we're looking for what we're not and what we haven't done versus what we have. I was really fortunate to find some early on mentors who just had a whole different perspective. I remember my first interview and she said to me, Nick, I don't care what you've done. I care what I can help you do. I care if you're someone who's coachable. I care if I can mold you. I care if I can develop your character and your skill set. And if I show you what I can do and you can do it too, then that's what matters. And I was like, okay, this is just a whole different way of thinking. And from there, it was a really fortunate time. For about 4 to 5 years, I sat across from business owners, probably 2,000 business owners across 4 years, and hearing, those who had great success, and then those who just, the restriction in their life, the heaviness of business, like one extreme to the other. And that's what got me wondering, well, why are some so successful and others just can't get off the starting line? Like, their relationships suffered, their income suffered, their health suffered massively. And it took me on that search to go, well, if I want to step into creating my own income, how do I not go down that path? Like, what do these guys know that are actually getting the results? They obviously see things differently, or they think differently, or they're doing different actions. Yeah, and it led me to having, 2,000 conversations with business owners. It led me to investing in any and every seminar that I was told to, and then starting my own business and stepping into that. And that feeling, that rush, I remember the first 3 or 4 months, I was like, blinders on, make it happen, because I had to get out of a situation I wasn't comfortable in. And it's funny, isn't it, like when your back's against the wall, when it really means the most to move your situation, just how focused you can get. And so I started on that path, but I still kept hitting a ceiling. Like, I would always have this cycle, and I'd start and I would go like this, and then I'd hit this ceiling and I'd bring myself back down to a bit of limitation, a little bit less results, a little bit less, forward movement to stay in this. And then you and I met, and I think it was, I tried to reach out to you multiple times. Probably still got some unread messages from me. But I think it was that point. It was that point of going, hey, I've made this one step, but there's still something I'm not getting.
Yeah,
there's
you weren't
still
where
something,
you wanted to be.
Yeah, there's still experience that I don't have. There's still something that I'm not understanding how other people are understanding it. Something like, there's still a missing piece.
That is a good question. I actually don't know if I know the answer to that right now. What do you think it was?
I think it's a lot of seeing greater potential in someone than they see in themselves. And sometimes you need someone to see that for a little bit, just until you like go, yeah, okay, I get it, it's there.
Yeah,
But I also think the way, when we talk about beliefs, and for me, you were, and still are, you increase my capacity of what's possible. So you open that lid, like you are that.
Because it's
proof.
proof of seeing someone, if someone else can do it.
Yes.
And seeing that there's some common ground, there's some stuff that's the same. So why wouldn't you be able to do exactly what I've done?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think most women have some deeper seated fears they may not even be consciously aware of that keep them stuck. So for Nick, I could see straight away she didn't want to outshine her peer group. And so she would nearly dull herself down a little bit to be still in that same space. And so the world didn't get to see her potential, and she didn't get to understand her own potential either. You needed someone to remind you about that. Even to say, there's more, there is more. It's okay to want more. You can think bigger. Like, why are you stopping here? Times 2, times 3, times 10. Why not? Why not? Also, because Nick's a real action taker. So she loves to get into action, which is something that's why I love working with you, because you actually do the things. But your action sometimes is mismatched by your belief in whether it's actually going to happen for you.
Yes. And it is, and we were talking about this the other day, and this, obviously something we go through with the women. I would always, when we talk about beliefs and everything that I guess is behind the action, I would just always go, just more action will be the solution. More action. If I do more of this, if I'm up till 2 a.m. doing it, if I just do it for long enough, good enough, surely that will break through. But there was probably a lack of the beliefs behind it in the end.
And getting your belief of, if it's worth doing, if it's a big goal, it must be really hard.
Yeah.
That must require lots of hard work. Was, instead of working smarter, you would just, I'll just work harder, I'll just work harder.
Because one of my deep beliefs was, if it's not hard, you shouldn't earn the money. You shouldn't be paid. You're not worthy of it.
And then the beliefs keep coming back, right? You can't just make a decision, I'm getting rid of that one and think it's going to be gone forever.
Yeah.
It comes back. And then I get to say to you, there it is again. What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to have someone who knows you well enough, I think, to be able to see when the beliefs that aren't serving you are cropping up.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, I think it's the how-tos and the action. It came so simple for me. It was so obvious. It's like, I just want to talk about the strategy and the idea and the numbers and let's just execute it. But that was me just staying in this comfort rather than looking at what's the mindset behind it, what's the energy behind it, how am I actually wired. That was massively limiting me.
Yeah, and you can do all
massive way.
You can do all the work in the world, but if you're not really believing that those goals are attainable for you for whatever reason, all the work, the hardest, hardest workers in the world don't necessarily end up with more money in the bank. There's a combination of things that we need to master.
I think you kind of touched on it. It's like, how do we just do it in a smarter way? It wasn't about, so for me, it became, not that the path is easier, because you can't get out of doing what you need to do, but you can do it the way that you want to do it. For me, it was like, it did happen with more ease. It was more fun. It wasn't like hitting the head up against the wall, like repeating the same thing, hoping for a different result. It was like, let's stop, breathe, pause, think, create, work out what's actually going on, like what beliefs are there for you that's trumping any results. The results, I don't want to say they came easier, but it was with more ease.
Well, in fact, the magic can only be created when you're doing it the way that you want. So your belief of, I've just got to do more work was really getting in the way, because it wasn't able to create the magic of, we believe that 1 + 1 = 2. But when we get all of the different components right, 1 + 1 actually equals 11. And it's like, where did this come from? How did this happen? And it's just that everything aligned all at the right time because you made it align. Giving yourself permission to find joy in the work, or to to do the work that was bringing you joy. So still doing the same amount of work in a way that was just all of you loving it. And that whole passion thing's a little bit overused or confusing,
It's
it's
misunderstood.
for people. Because I think a lot of people think they don't want to do anything unless they feel passionate about it, but that's not the key either. But everyone has different things that are stopping them, and that's the point of having a coach or a mentor, I guess.
And I think that's it. You kind of summed it up. I think that you really shown me. It was like a mirror to myself, like you showed me where I was capping myself, so financially, based on my beliefs and what I thought was possible. Then you were proof to me of what actually is possible, like actual tangible proof, not like, you know, that's cute on social media, like real proof, money in the bank, here are the results. And then it was, once that stuff got into place, then the tactical stuff, okay, what do we need to do to get this done? It's done with more joy, it's done with more ease, but it was done with just more of me as well. Not having to be someone else or be like someone else to produce a better or similar result. It was just, how do I want to do this thing? And I think for women, that is a big thing. You don't have to be what you see and dislike online. There's a lot of stuff where I'm like, but I don't want to be that person. And the answer's simple, don't. Don't be that person. Like, you get to do it in your way, but it was, bringing out, well, what is my way? How would I go about this? How would I implement that differently? Well, firstly, I mean, who would have thought that from the barbecue on the farm that we'd now be both sitting in Croatia together? It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool journey. And that's the reason behind the book and writing it as well, is because when I think of every pivotal moment and every moment where I had, I guess, an increase in joy, in purpose, in results, it was a mentor. It was someone who was always that decade ahead. It was someone who had always gone before and could say, hey, don't step there. It's going to cost you a little bit. Hey, come this way, but be quick with, just guiding through. And, that's the purpose of
bouncing things off,
soundboarding. And writing this book is my way of giving everyone their bit of Jen as well, because I think people need to find that. That's been the most important thing on my journey. And with Changing Results is finding who is that mentor. And you have been a wonderful mentor and friend to me. It's like, well, how do more women find their own Jen? And how do they get the information, not just the information that they need to be a consumer, but how do they turn it into tangible actions to actually create results? And that's the difference.
Well, there's so much information out there. Like, there's no shortage of information, right? It's figuring out what's the information that is most important and that really matters. And in this whole big world, where do I find that information that's going to make a difference to me or to you or to whoever wants to make a change? And that's the real challenge. But something really phenomenal happens when we get all of the components right and together and start applying them at once, and our income grows. We start to develop confidence because we're seeing some success and some change. And then when our income gets to a point where we have enough, that's when the fun really starts. And we can create anything that we want to create, and the money just becomes a number. And that's when, and I think you were just referring to that a little bit earlier, where it's not about, oh my gosh, it's that emotional, I need money for this, because survival's done, our basic needs are met. And now it's just like, well, why not times 3? Why not times 10? Why not times 30? Why not?
So I hope that you enjoy the book and you enjoy the read and dive into this, and let's see what unfolds for you as well.